Hello, welcome back to the channel. Hello. Today I'm going to go through some rapid fire reviews. This is called rapid fire reviews. I may do more in-depth reviews of these books later because a lot of these do warrant a longer review, but this is just, again, kind of testing out the format, figuring out the channel, and to give you an idea of the kind of stuff I like to read. First up, we have A Manual for Cleaning Women by Lucia Berlin. I got this crusty copy online from Thrift Books. It was originally from the Los Angeles Public Library, which is kind of cool. It's a collection of beautifully written short stories. More people should know about Lucia Berlin. I feel like only like MFA nerds. I'm not an MFA nerd. I'm not knocking them. MFA writing program nerds know about Lucia Berlin, but I feel like the general public should know about Lucia Berlin. Like I said in my first video, I think it's really important to spotlight the voices of poor people. And I don't know her exact background. It doesn't seem like she came from abject poverty at all. But in her later life, when she started writing short stories, she definitely was poor. And she worked as a cleaning woman and seems like she was an alcoholic. These stories are so raw and real and beautifully written and really open you up to a hidden world maybe, but they're just so good and poetic and beautiful. If you like Raymond Carver, you'll love Lucia Berlin. It will blow your mind how good Lucia Berlin is. Yeah, it would be hard for me to pick a favorite story out of these. They're all so good and so strong. And really, it's a potentially life-changing book. That's Lucia Berlin, A Manual for Cleaning Women. I think this is everything she's ever wrote is in this book, and you can get it cheap. The next book is The Monkey Wrench Gang by Edward Abbey. God, this is a good cover. It's an R. Crumb cover, and he does the illustrations inside. I actually found this copy. I have multiple copies of this because it's one of my favorite books. I don't know. It's one of my favorite books. It's probably top 20, maybe top 10. I need to read it again. I haven't read it in a while. But The Monkey Wrench Gang, it's a book about this gang of anti-capitalist eco-terrorists sabotaging things. That's the shittiest, most bare bones summary of this book. There's a lot going on in here. There's a lot of stuff. It's political. It's more relevant now that we're on the brink of ecological collapse and capitalism is destroying everyone and everything that's good in the world. As an extreme radical lefty, this book connected with me on multiple levels. I think Edward Abbey, as he got older, definitely his later stuff, he seems just kind of like right-wing libertarian type guy. And I guess maybe he always was. But this book reads, I think this book for him was probably coming from a more libertarian type of mindset. But it's just a very entertaining book. It's funny. It's ridiculous. He also wrote another great book called Desert Solitaire. You could just read Monkey Wrench Gang and Desert Solitaire and you're probably good. Desert Solitaire is just like very poetic descriptions of the desert. He lives in, I think, Utah, Canyonlands or something. It's just like beautiful descriptions of the desert, and it's kind of a book about nothing and everything. The Monkey Wrench Gang, Edward Abbey. Here's another great book that I read. This isn't a recent read. I read this a long time ago, but it was sitting right here, so I picked it up. Operation Shylock by Philip Roth. I'm just going to do a whole video about Philip Roth because I think he's kind of slept on right now and in general, but he's one of those authors that his writing just goes down so smooth for me. Like, it's just like reading his stuff is just so, he's an easy read. I think probably not for everybody. I connect with Philip Roth in a way. The way his brain is wired is kind of the same way my brain is wired. So I think like he's kind of slept on because I think he was kind of an asshole and kind of a misogynistic dude. Definitely was. I read the biography that came out recently about him, and he definitely was a complicated, intense guy that was an asshole to women and everybody, especially to women. I don't think Philip Roth was a Zionist. He wasn't a Zionist. This book is very anti Zionist. The book is written to seem like an autobiographical account. Like Philip Roth he is Philip Roth in this book. Then another Philip Roth pops up in Israel and starts giving Zionist speeches and stuff. And the real Philip Roth is like, what is going on? What is this? And then he goes to Israel and confronts the guy. The book is about identity. It's political, of course. It gives a glimpse into this kind of psychotic Zionist mindset, but then this book has a lot going on, and Philip Roth is just always so funny. He's like one of the funniest writers, in my opinion. I kind of hate this cover. I feel like I have another copy of this somewhere. I have multiple copies of Philip Roth's stuff because people kind of don't give a shit about him, and you find his stuff used all the time. And he was a really popular writer for that brief time period when people read books. And so there's a lot of copies of all of his books floating around. I wouldn't even say this is the first one to start with as far as Philip Roth. I'm going to do a whole video about Philip Roth because I'm a big fan, and I feel like people kind of sleep on him nowadays. But Operation Shylock, Philip Roth, it's very good. Next up, we have Philip K. Dick, A Scanner Darkly. And look at how good this cover is. I kind of went on an intense Philip K. Dick binge before I wrote my first novel. That's what inspired me to write my first novel, was I was reading a ton of Philip K. Dick. And Philip K. Dick, because I feel like he's a great writer, but he's also not a great writer. On a prose level, he's not writing, it's not like literary fiction. He has great ideas, but on a prose level, it's not like great, beautiful, poetic writing. And so he makes it seem easy. And that was a big part of why I wrote my first novel, which is a science fiction novel set 15 years in the future-ish in San Francisco. This is my favorite Philip K. Dick novel. My dear friend Kenner actually bought this for me, tracked it down and bought this specific copy. My friend Kenner, he's a character in my first novel, by the way. But this book apparently was very autobiographical. When his house across the bridge in Sebastopol, I don't really remember. He lived somewhere north of the city. I don't remember now. And his house became kind of like a flop pad, kind of a druggy hippie flop pad for a little bit. And this book is kind of condensing his experiences at that time. He was just like he was like on speed and writing constantly and paranoid, hanging out with all these stoners, and everybody's doing acid and crashing on his couch. This book's kind of set in an indeterminate near future. Apparently when he first wrote it, it wasn't set in the future, but then he gave it a sci-fi angle. But to me, this novel, the strength is that it feels so personal. Like, you can tell it was a very personal novel for him to write. I think I read somewhere he like cried. His wife caught him crying when he was writing the end of this novel or something. It's about drug addiction, paranoia, conspiracy theories, of course. But it's a great book. It's easily my favorite Philip K. Dick. I also like Valis. I like his later weird stuff. I think the earliest thing I ever read of his was Palmer Eldritch, maybe, which was great. But his stuff earlier than that, I'm just like, can't really get into as much. Philip K. Dick, A Scanner Darkly.